Hi-de-ho there, and welcome back to the channel. Episode 6 of the Acolyte has dropped, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. To kind of give a quick high-level overview of what's going on in this episode, May and Osha have traded places. May is on board the Jedi ship with Master Soul, and Osha has been taken by Smilo Ren. It's a little bit longer than last week's episode, and there isn't any fighting going on, so this one kind of felt like trudging through mud trying to watch it. So, to kind of break this one down, I wanted to take a look at each character's half of the episode separately and then kind of bring it all together back at the end. And then there's kind of some other third plot lines kind of in the middle with the Jedi, but first we're going to talk about Osha's half of the episode. So it starts off with Osha and Smilo on the planet that we saw at the end of the very first episode. So we see kind of Osha waking up in a cave, and she just starts kind of trying to get her surroundings and walk around as she wakes up from an unconsciousness state for like the 7th time in the show. But she is able to explore this cave, find some shoes and a knife, and kind of just start walking. And then she happens to notice that Smilo is walking towards something, but she doesn't know what yet. So she decides to follow him with the knife. And it leads kind of to like this sectioned off pool area, because this is kind of like a beach that they're kind of next to. So she follows him down there where Smilo starts to take a bath, and she kind of watches him do that. And while he's in the water, she's able to pick up his lightsaber and kind of try to flip the dynamic on him a little bit, because now she has his lightsaber and can do whatever she wants. She could kill him if she wants to, and he almost kind of tries to get her to do it, but she doesn't end up doing it, and begins to start to talk to her in like cryptic philosophical riddles to try to mess with her head and try to make her challenge her way of thinking. This is kind of a common thread across all of their scenes together through the rest of the episode. So there's kind of some strange interactions with them on the beach, and then he puts his clothes back on, and then they start walking back towards the cave. And as they're kind of walking back, Smilo tells Osha that she's strong with the Force, but she doesn't want to believe him. She says that she doesn't have access to it anymore because she stopped her Jedi training, but Smilo was like, that's not the only way to use the Force. There's some other way, and insinuates that she should learn how to use the dark side of the Force again, trying to manipulate her into turning onto the dark side. And all this is kind of weird because like she just got back from a planet where she just watched him, Smilo, kill an entire party of Jedi, including 2 of her supposedly close friends in Yord and Jeki, or X-23. And then Smilo kind of implies that the reason that she wasn't able to and got kicked out of the Jedi is because that basically she kind of fell in love with Master Soul when he was training her, and she was starting to develop feelings for Jeki, even though they've only known each other for like a day. But it wasn't going to be reciprocated because Jeki was a Jedi, and Jedi can't form attachments, so it wasn't going to go anywhere. And so he tries to say that all of these emotions that she's feeling, it won't allow her to be a Jedi, but she can be a Sith. And she pretty much falls for it, and she also seems to be like kind of starting to fall for him, it seemed like a little bit. At least that's what I got from it. She has several chances to leave and to kill him, which you would think she should do because he just killed all of her friends, and she doesn't do either of them. She just kind of stays there. And as they continue to talk to each other more, we learn that Smilo Ren used to be a Jedi. And earlier in the episode, when he was taking a bath, we saw a large scar on his back, and then it kind of shows up again, and Osha asks him about it, and he said it was from someone who threw him away, and he implies that he used to be a Jedi. And this scar was from his former Jedi Master. And the most common theory that I've seen going around is that somehow he is connected with the lightsaber whip Jedi Master, because obviously she carries a weapon that could leave such a big gnarly scar on his back. And then he tells her to put on his helmet and then walks away, and then she puts on the helmet, and that's where her half of the episode and the episode as a whole kind of wraps up. So I mean, it was pretty boring, that half of the episode, but now we'll kind of go into May's half of the episode with Master Soul. So it kind of starts off with May and Soul on the ship, leaving the planet that the Master Kelnaka, the Wookiee Jedi, was on, and Soul starts to try to contact the Jedi to let them know what happened. And as he's trying to do this, May kind of sneaks up on him, and she draws a knife and is about to kill him, but Soul is able to notice because he's heading back down to a lower area of the ship because the comms aren't working, and he tells her to start flying the ship. So if it wasn't for that coincidence that the comms weren't working, he might have been dead within the first 10 minutes of the episode. And then also there's this other stupid plot with the stupid rodent tracker guy, whatever his name is. Who cares? He's trying to fix Osha's robot that she attached to Smilo Ren's back in the end of the last episode for the moths to carry him away. Because he knows that something's going on with Osha that's really May, but Soul doesn't. He then returns to the bridge, but the comms still aren't working. And he's not able to send a full message to the Jedi Temple. And then eventually he returns back to orbit where his ship links back up together with the other half of his ship, and then the power fails in the ship. He sends May off to investigate, where we find a stupid rodent tracker guy again sneak up on May, stomp on her foot, and the robot shoots oil in her face. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but to me it seems like the stupid rodent guy shut the power down on the ship to try and trap May and attack her, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would you do that? You're just putting, if you know something is up, you're putting yourself and Master Soul in way more danger with an assassin who's already killed 2 Jedi Masters. So I mean, it just that's what it seemed like to me, or it could have just been a random power failure. Who knows? But Soul is, after we kind of sit down with we get May is restarting the ship, and it's going to take a little bit, and then Soul is upset he wasn't able to sense that the potion maker guy was the Sith Lord, proving that he can only use the Force when the script needs him to. But kind of to put it in a more Star Wars terms, his emotions in the situation may be blocking his ability to use the Force to its fullest potential. Maybe because he has such a personal connection with May and Osha and their whole situation. Several times throughout the episode, he implies that he needs to turn himself in to the High Jedi Council and to confess to the crimes that he committed. But he never actually comes out and says what it is, at least not in this episode yet. May tries to get him out of him, but asks if there was anything else. He didn't tell Osha about what happened with the wishes, and he's about to tell her, but the ship's power comes back, and he decides not to tell her. But then we cut back to Osha in the bridge of the ship where she's trying to contact someone, and Soul uses a stun gun on her, and then we see a little stupid rodent guy show up, which kind of implies that he didn't even figure it out, that he had to be told by this this tracking guy who he can't even speak to, so somehow he was able to figure it out. And then once he does that, since now he knows that it's not Osha, he restrains her and is like, now, I've been thinking about what I would have said to you. for 16 years, and you're gonna listen to me. So, and then kind of throughout, and that's where their portion of the episode ends. But kind of in between the Osha and May parts, there's been some scenes with the Jedi from Coruscant. They get the message, and then they just like form a team to go investigate what happened to the party of Jedi that lightsaber whip Jedi sent to that planet. So they get there and do some investigating, and like, oh, there's people who were killed by a lightsaber here. And then they suggest that Master Soul was the one who did it. But then they're like, oh, that really wouldn't make sense. Why would he send a distress signal if he was the one who killed all this Jedi? And then it kind of insinuates that lightsaber whip Jedi knows that, hey, this might be the Padawan from a long time ago. And I mean, that's kind of each little section of the episode as it happened. It was overall, this episode, it was 30 minutes of pretty much nothing. I was bored the whole time, and at least once I checked how much longer I had until the episode was done, and there was nothing to keep me engaged as a viewer for basically the entire episode, mainly because the acting and writing continues just to be so abhorrently bad. I will say I do feel sorry for the actor playing Master Soul. You can tell he's the only one who actually cares about putting on a good performance, even with the terrible writing and the terrible writing of the show, and the fact that he had to learn how to speak English to play this role. He's really trying to provide something for the audience to enjoy, and I do applaud him for doing that. Like, props to him. But by the end of the episode, you can definitely tell, at least to me, it seems like Master Soul's whole entire there's some form of internal conflict going on. The tone of his voice and his body language completely shift from everything else we've ever seen. So are they trying to imply that he's turned bad now, like he's been bad this whole time? I don't know, but that last kind of scene with May is kind of a little creepy, a little bit. It's not the only one. Like the whole scene with Osha and Smilo Ren is pretty creepy too, but this is kind of creepy in a different way. It seems like Osha is ready to follow Smilo after like a half day of talking to him, which really doesn't make sense, but I guess it's consistent with the resolve of her sister, who changed his allegiance on a whim as well. So, I mean, after May finds out that Osha's alive, she says she's going to turn herself into the Jedi, but when she gets the chance, she literally attacks the person who tries to arrest her, like has a knife at her throat. And then as soon as May is apparently, or Osha is all May cares about, and then as soon as she meets her, after talking to her for like a minute, Force pushes her off a ledge and supposedly injures her, even though the ledge was like a foot high, and then takes all her clothes off and switches places with her to try to go kill a Jedi. So, I mean, it doesn't really, this whole show just doesn't make sense. It's still so frustrating, the fact that Master Soul's ability to use the Force is so inconsistent. First time that we saw him, he was training younglings, so something we have only ever seen Grandmaster Yoda do before. I mean, that kind of should imply he's pretty good with it if you're going to be tasked with training young Jedi how to use the Force. But I guess that doesn't really matter when the writing is so bad. He wasn't even able to see like the forehead tattoo on May's head that's been there since, like, he was the one who first noticed it in episode 3. He literally called out that she didn't have that tattoo when he was spying on them, or in that episode. So yeah, I mean, I've been hearing a couple different things, but the main general consensus I've heard around the show is that May and Osha are going to completely basically flip-flop their position by the end of the show, which I think would be pretty dumb. Both of them seemed pretty staunchly opposed to each other's position, and for them to change sides in the matter of days doesn't really make sense. If that's the route they wanted to go with the show, personally, I think it would take a lot more to convert them to the other side. Once again, I have no idea where this next episode is going, but I think we are heading towards both May and Osha teaming up against the Jedi in some sort of final battle. There is a possibility for another flashback episode, leaving only the season finale to wrap things up. Considering these episodes are only 30 minutes long, that doesn't leave a whole lot of time to try to wrap up whatever this so-called story. Even if we don't get another flashback, it's still only an hour of show, which at the pace the show is moving means that it's most likely going to be rushed and unsatisfying, which, I mean, it's probably going to be that anyway. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's going to be it for my review of episode 6 of The Acolyte. Tune in next week for my episode 7 review. Thanks for watching.